All right, welcome to 333 Diecast YouTube page. Appreciate your support. If you're a customer of ours, we really appreciate your support. I don't really know what I'm going to do with this channel. I know in the bio I talked about showing off my own personal collection and some of my wife's collection, along with showing off some of the stuff we have up for sale or some of the new inventory we're getting in. But beyond that, I don't know. I have some ideas, but I guess it'll just kind of depend on how things go, with support and recommendations and stuff like that. I've been doing custom diecast in the 1/18 scale pretty much exclusively for probably going over 5 years now, maybe 6. And I started off just kind of fell into it. Honestly, I've always been a car guy. I've always had model cars and stuff, but I never really even looked at them in the customized type of light. And one, I didn't know you could do it, and two, I just didn't have that. I guess I just never really thought about it. Never really crossed my mind. But long story short, my wife and I were, just got together and. Typical young married couple, both of us are in our early 20s, strapped for cash and needed to make some extra money to make ends meet, and started going through the storage unit and selling my collection. And, kind of just one thing fell into another of, 1 minute I'm realizing how much this stuff goes for potentially, and then other, I kind of fall into the whole parts aspect thing and started doing the whole parting out cars, or doing wheel swaps or doing engine swaps or whatever. And then it's like, well, I'm not an awful painter, so let's give that a whirl, and started doing that. And here we are. We're now a authorized dealer for Acme Trading Company, and then of course all the companies that they own, as far as that's how I'd put it, I guess. But so like Highway 61, GMP, all those type companies. Like I said, we've been selling on eBay for pretty much our whole relationship, and she and I have been married been together 7 years now. And but yeah, so like I said, I really don't know what I'm gonna do with the channel. I would like to do some like tutorials or some walkthroughs or some tips and tricks. But like I said, it'll just kind of be dependent on the feedback I get and the views and whatnot I get. Because I'm not exactly super busy, but I'm also working full time and doing regular eBay stuff. So I don't want to pour time and effort into doing this if I'm not gonna get much feedback from it. But yeah, whenever I started doing this, I YouTubed and Googled, and I never could find any type of tutorial or forum group or really any type of help. It was just kind of figure it out, kind of learn from your mistakes and try it again. And where now I've gotten to the point where like the car you're looking at here, it's a full top-down restoration, but yeah, so like I said, thanks for joining us. And like I said, if you're a customer or if you're planning on buying something in the future, thank you in advance. We appreciate it. My wife and I are both avid gearheads, and I know you can't exactly hop in these and go for a drive, sadly, but it's nice to be able to live vicariously and kind of have your fantasy shelf of all your cars that you'll never be able to get in all the different colors you want or whatever it may be. But yeah, so I think I also might start doing this in the future, where some cars I want to do inside, some cars I'll do outside, like this one, just so you can really see the paint pop. But I think I might just kind of start doing some walkthroughs of like what I did to it, maybe how I did this or how I accomplished that kind of thing, or whatever that may be. And then again, maybe in the future I'll do some like progression type videos with like some voiceover type thing of start to finish, before and after on a complete build like this. just kind of have to see. But yeah, so this is one of my newer cars. I've had it for a while now. This is a 1/18th ERTL. Some people call it Ertl. I don't know. I've always just called it ERTL. So if I'm wrong, I guess light me up in the comment section. I don't know. I'm gonna keep calling it ERTL, just like Maisto or Maisto. I don't know. I'm gonna say Maisto. So again, if I pronounce things differently from what you've heard, I'm probably wrong. You're probably right. I don't know. I've never really been around, not in person, model car guys or diecast collectors, so I don't really know how people pronounce it. So, like I said, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But anyways, this is a 1/18th ERTL, the American Muscle Series, 1970 Dodge Challenger. It was a Challenger TA. I guess one could argue it still is. But anyways, it was a brand new model, and I've been wanting to get one of these in the brand new condition, so nothing was loose or wiggly or broken or anything, because these mirrors and like the hood pins or just, whatever, the spoiler, they're so hard to find where they're not broken off or bent or super glued back on or whatever. Not to mention these side exhaust tips are, and plus nothing else, even if they're on, they're like the chrome's chipping off or they're bent or I don't know. But anyways, so got one of these. Actually got it as a birthday gift. Started off as yellow. The hood was already matte black. The spoiler was already black, and then it had of course the TA stripe down the side, and different wheels. But anyway, so I took it apart. The hood, and that's the main reason I wanted to get a TA one, is because I love the matte black hoods, along with the fact I love the TA hood scoop. But the problem is this chrome piece right here on the edge of the hood. You cannot I have never seen or been able to do it where you can take that off effectively in disassembly to where then you can repaint the hood, because you can get Challengers obviously with different style hoods on them, but they almost, as far as I can tell, they all have this chrome lip on them, so it matches with the the chrome around the headlights. And I've never had success, and I've never seen anybody have success of taking that off to where it doesn't break or bend, to where you can you can put it back on during the reassembly process. So that's a main reason why I wanted a TA. Like I said, I love the hood, so I'm kind of getting a double win there. But anyway, so took the hood off, just sat it off to the side till I was done with the car. Same way with the spoiler. And like I said, I'll probably end up doing a start to finish, with voiceover videos, or at least one video of an ERTL or Ertl or whatever the hell it's called, because that's what I typically mess with is that series of diecast. But I'll probably, like I said, I'll probably do it, start to finish, complete, paint job, new wheels, all that stuff, just to kind of give you guys a basic rundown of how to do it yourself, because I've noticed that a lot of these ERTLs, there's a lot of overlap in them. Yeah, they're all set up a little bit differently, but like the Challengers and the Cudas, obviously if you being a car guy or car girl, you understand that they're basically the same car to begin with, but a lot of that same principles apply in the diecast world, from what I've seen at least. It's not as overlappy as it is in real life, but there is some overlap in there. So like these Cudas and Challengers, they come apart almost identical, and the parts are almost identical. So it's, if you can take apart a Challenger, you can take apart a Cuda, or vice versa. You know what I mean? So, but anyways, but yeah, so I tore down, took all the, took off the grill, which is all one unit, which again, I'll show you guys sometime. The front bumper on these is its own little separate piece. You got to knock out these fog running lights, and then I take everything that's metal. Of course, you have to pop out the door panels and all that stuff. But take it, get all the die cast pieces off by themselves, and then I throw them in paint stripper. some cars they strip down to bare metal in 2 hours. Some cars they take 2 days. I don't know why. I'm assuming it's just because this car is from this year and this car is from that year, or maybe this car was just stored in better condition. I don't know. But like I said, this one was started off as brand new. It still had the hood strap on and the door straps on, and never even been opened. Like the box was sealed and everything. So, and this car I think stripped down to bare metal in like 6 hours. So again, there's really no rhyme or reason to it that I can tell. But yeah, so get it out of paint stripper, and then I use Dawn or some type of equivalent soap, and just scrub the hell out of it. Typically use like a scouring pad or like a heavy brush to help break free any residual paint stripper or any type of residue like that, especially like in like the nooks and crannies of like where like the door where the door meets the body, like on like the door hinge itself, or if I was doing like a hood, like the hood hinge or something like that. Obviously this car is pretty straight, so it's not like there's a whole bunch of nooks and crannies on it on the body itself. But anyway, scrub the hell out of it with some Dawn, some warm or hot water, and then I dry really well, and then I typically let it sit for a while. Just let it get air dry, completely bone dry, and then I take the body and I hang it up on a spray paint can or something equivalent. And hell, there's been some cars actually like take a fishing line and hang it from like a ceiling or something, just because the body's in such a way that I can't get into certain nooks and crannies. So I've done some weird things. But anyway, so you just what I do, which I recommend, is kind of paint it like a real car. Because there are some tiny nooks and crannies, and it's gonna be hard to get paint in certain spots if you don't. Because I've seen some guys, or I've heard of some guys, where they take the car out of paint stripper or sandblast, however they do things, and then they put it all back together and then they paint it. It's like I don't know, because then you're gonna get some weird overlap, like light spots or dark spots on because you're gonna have to open up the door to be able to get the door jamb. Well, then if you do that, you're gonna get some weird overspray in the door, like on the fender side. So I don't know, personal preference, I guess. I'm sure there's a way you can get around it, but that's not how I personally do it. Not saying that's right, just saying that's how I personally do it. But anyway, so I do the body as itself, I do the hood by itself, I do the doors, like I said, this weird little front bumper is its own little piece. So yeah, and again, the more I'm sitting here talking about it, the more it's like, yeah, I just need to just show you guys with some example car, just so you guys can see what the hell I'm talking about. But yeah, so get everything primed, and then once that's primed, you paint it, and then once that's good, you clear it, and then I guess you don't have to, but I do wet sand and buff polish, and then I wash it one more time just to get any residual soap, or not soap, like polish or any type of residue off like that, along with like any fingertip or finger point fingerprints on it or anything like that. And then whenever I reassemble it, I put on gloves, or sometimes even 2 sets of latex or nitrile gloves, just to avoid getting fingerprints all over it again. But yeah, so this paint is, and I personally only use real automotive paint, like real touch-up paint, and I use real automotive clear coat. So I've done cars in the past, back when I first got going years and years ago, of just using like regular old hardware store spray paint or this and that, and they turned out fine. But me personally, if you don't use real automotive paint, it's not even really worth the hassle of taking everything apart and then putting everything back together. About the only time that I do use like hardware type paint is if I'm doing like a matte black car. Like I've shown you guys that matte black Chevelle that I have with the NASCAR engine swapped into it. I got a matte black Charger. I've sold matte black cars. Obviously they do really well. On those cars I do a matte black paint, and then I do or flat, whatever. Depends on who the company is. They call it different things. But matte black paint, and then I do a flat clear. So then that way it's cleared, obviously, and it's protected, but then it doesn't have that, doesn't have the sheen. I tried doing a semi-gloss once, but it turned out like it looked like it was a really shitty clear coat. So I never did that again. That car actually ended up getting restripped, and I just redid it. Because I was trying to go for like more like a satin look, but it didn't work. So, but anyways, but yeah. So this paint is actually Dodge Striker Red, and from what I can tell, it's primarily used on the 2015 and 2016 Vipers. Again, if I'm wrong, by all means, let me know. I'm not an expert. I'll never claim to be an expert. But anyways, it seems like the Striker Red or the Striker series of paints, like the Striker Green, Striker Purple, so on, are primarily used on the Dodge Vipers. I think I've seen some used on like a prototype of like the new Charger 6-pack maybe. I think I saw one of those like Striker Purple. I don't know if that's accurate or not. I think I saw like a 1-of-1 Demon in Striker Purple. Again, don't know if that's accurate. I don't know. But anyways, the Striker Red's a 2-stage paint. So you prime it, and then you do the ground coat, which is, when it comes out, it kind of looks like a rose gold kind of sort. It's actually kind of pretty. Debated on painting a car just in that color and then clearing it and seeing how it turned out. But anyways, it's kind of like a rose gold color, and then you do 2, 3, 4 coats, however many coats of paint you need or you think you need, and then you have a mid coat, and the mid coat is the red tint coat, I guess you could call it or compare it to, but that's where you definitely get the red from. And it, when it comes out, it's obviously when it's still soaking wet, and I paint with like bright LED lights and stuff like that, so it looks gorgeous when it comes out of the gun. But anyways, yeah, so do the ground coat, do the mid coat, and then of course your top coat would be your clear coat. I typically do 5 coats, sometimes 6. This kind of depends on the car. And I know some people are like, oh, that's not enough, or oh, that's too much. It's just, that's what I've been doing for a while now. And I've done a lot of testing with clear coats and how much and how little and stuff like that. And 5 coats is what I like personally. And I get it, nothing looks the same in video or pictures as it does in real life. So you might be sitting here looking at this car and be like, oh man, I could do a better job or this or that. And you may very well be right. Again, I never went to paint and body school. I'm self-taught. And these turn out good enough for me. And again, I don't want this page to turn into a I'm better than you and let me show you the way, let me be your senpai. It's not what I'm going for here. So if I ever come across that way, that's not how I mean it. But yeah, anyway, so I do 5 coats of clear, and then let it dry for almost 2 days. That's what I typically do. And then I do the wet sand and polish and buff, or I'm sorry, wet sand, buff, and then polish. And then, like I said, I typically wash it one last time, just like a real light wash. And then I glove up and get all my Ziplocs back out of all my little teeny parts and get back to it and put it back together. And here we go. This is a final product of, in my opinion, probably pretty damn good looking car. This is one of my personal cars, like I said. I'm a big Mopar guy. I'm a big GM guy. So on this page, you're going to see a lot of GM and Chrysler products. So hopefully you're okay with that. I'm a huge Fast and Furious fan, especially back before they went to shit. So like 1 through 4 are my favorite. 5's okay. I've always said the 5 is where they should have stopped. But anyways, before I go down that rabbit hole, and I definitely like my JDM stuff too. And then there are some Fords I like, so you'll see some Fords here and there. But yeah, like I said, you're going to be mostly seeing something from GM or Chrysler, Mopar, whatever you want to call it. I know some people get all worked up when you say Mopar, and some people know what you mean. Um, but yeah, this car turned out pretty damn good. So, I mean, I didn't, customization wise, I didn't do anything to it. I just painted it. Well, I guess I did do some stuff to it. Just, and in some of the cars I've done, this is a pretty light build, in my opinion. I guess more like moderate, kind of run of the mill, or middle of the road, I mean. But yeah, so it's got a repaint. I got these new, and these are from an ERTL diecast. They're the fairly thick torque thrust kind of style wheel to them. And I have some with white lettering, like on the sidewall, but I thought for this car I just kind of like just a smooth sidewall on it. I think it looks cleaner. Like I said, the paint or the hood was already matte black for me, so that was nice. And then I tinted the back window, and I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it very well, but it is tinted. The spoiler already had the decal on it, the Challenger TA decal on it. And then, one thing, I don't know if you guys are going to notice it or not, but I'll go ahead and point it out, is if you look at the rearview mirrors, they're just painted. And some people will somehow make their own reflective adhesive decal basically and put mirrors back on it, because that's how these are. It's like a little sticker basically, but I've never been able to get them off without ripping them or cutting them or something. On these, on the Maestos I can, but I think that's just because they're just newer and they haven't been sitting in the box for 20 some odd years. But like I said, I mean, that doesn't bother me, so that's personal preference. I've seen some guys paint them silver. I think that almost looks worse than just leaving it. I think it just draws more attention to it. But again, personal preference. By all means, don't listen to me. But yeah, and then one thing I did do is, because I'm a big block guy, and I had a 440 taken out of a special edition Cuda, and it had a shaker intake on it, or air intake on it, and so that's why this is just chilling with the the dual carb setup right now. But eventually I'm going to, once I find one, I'm going to find a double carb setup air cleaner, and maybe do like a custom decal on it or something, like a water slide decal or something. I haven't decided yet. But yeah, it came with these really cool valve covers on it, and I've only ever seen these valve covers on one engine that comes in, like I said, I think it's like a yellow and white 71 ERTL Cuda, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Again, if you know, let me know. But yeah. Oh, and I had to paint the engine bay matte black, and then I flat cleared it. So that way it's, because otherwise it'd be, bright yellow. So, and that's something with these Dodges, is that, or any of the Chrysler Mopar stuff, is that you have to typically paint the engine bay, which is kind of annoying because it's one more step, but it is what it is. Like the Chargers, the Challengers, the Cudas typically have to be painted, so I kind of, or the Roadrunners too. But yeah, so like I said, I'll probably do some tutorial videos, some step-by-step, some tricks and tips, like on the window tint. I mean, I'll show you guys, I'll let you guys know my little secret to how to tint a window, because I learned the hard way of how not to do it. But yeah, I'll just, and like the wheel swaps, I mean, I know it sounds stupid, but swapping these wheels out sometimes can be like a real bitch. So I'll let you take my personal opinions on those, on how to do those things, and do with information as you will. Like I said, some of the stuff I'm saying or doing or showing in the future might be stuff you already know or know a better way to do it. So by all means, again, let me know. Let the other people in the comments know, because again, there's no forums, there's no YouTube videos, there's no how-tos that I've ever seen. So, and I think us car guys need to stick together, especially nowadays with all the hate on cars and big engines and all the EPA stuff and I don't want to get political or anything, so, but I think if you're a fellow car guy, you know what I'm getting at is, you know, car guys are under attack, at least in my opinion, and classic cars are under attack, and but hopefully we can band together and keep the hobby alive, whether if it's in the diecast realm or in the real world realm. But yeah, so thanks for watching, and I'll probably be doing another video here in a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to post the next one today or if I'll post it tomorrow or something, but I'm going to try to start posting some more shorts and some more videos and stuff like that, and try to see if I can get me some type of following and see if I can help out people in the diecast realm. And but yeah, so thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed the car.